Welcome to American Family Insurance DreamBank, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams. I'm Madeline, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. For those of you that are familiar with DreamBank, welcome back. And for those of you that this is your first time joining us, welcome. Here at American Family Insurance, we believe communities are stronger and the future is brighter when people are actively pursuing their dreams. That's why we created DreamBank, an inspirational community destination and digital experience dedicated to dreamers everywhere. From our daily event series to immersive signature programs, there's something for every dreamer. Our always free offerings are designed to help you celebrate your dream journey, overcome obstacles, and stay motivated. Now I'd like to introduce you to today's speaker. Chris Donohoe is a career and life coach who has coached hundreds of driven professionals and consultants and consulted 20 plus Fortune 1000 companies. He is a professional certified coach with over 2,500 hours of coaching experiences and coaching experience and 200 plus hours of coach training under his belt. Prior to starting his private coaching practice in 2017, he worked as a strategy consultant, leading large-scale business transformations initiatives at Fortune 1000 companies across multiple industries: insurance, publishing, life science, big tech, retail, nonprofit. Chris is committed to helping driven professionals find clarity in the fast lane. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Madeline. I am happy to be here with everybody. I'm dialed in from Brooklyn, New York. It's kind of rainy today. It's like almost spring, but kind of not quite. My name is Chris Donohoe. I started my career as a teacher, a fourth grade teacher in the Bronx. I taught English as a second language. I then transitioned over to Scholastic, where I worked in their education technology group. And then from there, I ended up being a consultant, a management business consultant. And in 2017, I started my own company and eventually became a coach. And I've been coaching people since 2018. And I share all of that because my real passion is helping other people make big moves in their careers and to be able to make to navigate all the twists and turns that it actually takes to be able to get a career that you like and where you're treated well and where you're well paid. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share my screen. And as I do, I will say, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. So if something comes up and you really want to know, like, hey, like, I got to know more about that, put it in the chat. Madeline, if I don't see it, Madeline may interrupt. She might ask the question live. But we are also going to end today with a Q&A. So write down your questions, put them in the chat, and we'll end today with a Q&A. Where we're going to start is I'm actually going to go through frequently asked questions that I hear over and over again. And it's 4 buckets. So it's layoffs and employment gaps. Like, what do you do if you have an employment gap or you've been laid off for whatever reason? Maybe you're took time off to raise your kids, a sick relative, etc. And then I'll also talk about how to shift roles or industries or even do a complete career change. I'll talk about pay increases, salary negotiations, how to command top dollar. And for those of you who are interested in maybe like, could I go independent? Could I start a business? I'll talk about that as well. So I'm going to go through like the 101 frequently most asked questions. And I'm going to give you examples of real life people who have done all of those 4 things. And after we do that, I'm going to go in and I'm going to tell you exactly how they did it. I'm going to introduce a framework, a career strategy framework, coupled with a tool that I call it a whisper campaign. And no matter what you're looking to do, I always tell people that a whisper campaign is your first step. I'm going to walk you through it so that you know exactly what to do as your first step after this training today. So what I hear people say over and over again is either I don't know what I want, or I know what I want, but I just don't know how to get it, or that it feels completely impossible. So especially in the age of social media, you look online and you just see people and you're like, how did they do that? Is that even real? Is what I'm seeing even real or possible for me based on my background and where I'm at? And a lot of times, like, we can see steps 30, 35, 36, and 37, but we can't really see steps 1, 2, and 3. Like, what is my first immediate step if I don't know what I want, or if it just seems so far out to get a career or a job that I really love? The funny thing is, so I'm going to tell you that today. My intention today is for you to walk away feeling like I know exactly what my next step is. I'm going to tell it to you so that you have it. And usually it's the most obvious thing. So the question becomes like, if once it becomes illuminated, why don't we actually do the things that we know we need to do? And it's often because we get trapped in our head. Like our confidence goes down. We start to doubt ourselves. We think maybe it's not possible for me, or that the risk is too high, or that maybe we don't have the time, or that it's too hard, or that we're just not the type of person who's cut out for the task at hand. And I'm here to tell you, yes, you are, and yes, you can do it. And walking away today, that's my intention, is that you will walk away believing that as well. So I'm going to demystify this process and get you moving in the right direction. So first, I'm going to start with layoffs and employment gaps. People will come to me and they'll say, what do I do with my resume that I've been out of the workforce for 1 year, 6 years, 2 years, 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is. They'll say, what do I actually do? How do I explain that to people? What should I put on my resume? How should I talk about it? The first thing is that I really want to normalize that in the year 2024, it is so normal and even expected to have gaps in your resume or to have taken time off for whatever reason. If you were laid off, it wasn't your fault. Usually this is just a crappy thing that happens in the market, and it's not your fault. And you don't need to operate like it's your fault. And if you chose on purpose to leave a job to raise your kids or raise a family, that's also a very noble choice. So you get to own that choice. So the headline here is like, no matter why you have a gap, own the fact that you have a gap and just tell the truth about it from a positive place. So if you're, it sounds like this. I took 3 years off because we had children and I wanted to make sure that I was fully present for my kids in those early developmental years. And now I'm ready to dive back into work because that's where my focus is naturally going. And I have a feeling that having now raised these kids, my greatest work lies ahead of me and I can't wait to get back in the game. That is the type of answer that people are going to say, oh yeah, like I want to work with that person. But it requires you to kind of like own and normalize that layoffs, employment gaps are all totally normal. Also, there's a lot of fear when people are trying to get back into the job market if they haven't been in it. So I want you to know that it is normal for it to take maybe 6 months or longer. Like if you've been out of work for a long time and you're like, what's wrong with me that it's taking this long? There is nothing wrong with you. It is a laborious process. It's not an enjoyable process. And the process itself is broken. Like, you're throwing your resume into the computer hoping to hear something back. It's very common for people to not hear anything back. It's not you typically. So do your best to not internalize or make it mean something negative about you if you're not getting the traction that you want. Here's a good example. So I'm going to give you an example for each of these. So this is Anu. This is a real person. This is a real client that I worked with. She lives in Austin, Texas, and she had been unemployed for a long period. I think it was like over 6 months to a year. And she was really feeling that it was starting to spiral, like no control over her schedule, her life, her finances. And when she had had work in the past, she felt that work was really consuming her. And she told me, one of her biggest challenges is that she felt like as a brown woman, it was so difficult to be in a male dominated industry because she worked in technology, that was really taking a toll on her. So what she was able to do is actually land multiple job offers and get back in the game and get a $50,000 pay increase from her previous job. And how she did it was she moved out of tactical work and she started moving into more strategic work. So like, think of it as she was doing more of a kind of like technical, working with systems in a more technical way to actually saying, now I want to be a decision maker. How can I start thinking of myself as a decision maker? Well, so much of that process was her inwardly starting to see that she actually could do it and letting go that the layoff was not her fault. There's like a letting go she had to go through. And I'm going to tell you more about how she did it in a little bit, but that's a teaser for now. I also want to address this next topic, which is the career shifts. So what are the common questions I hear around shifting careers. So this is like, maybe you want to move industries, maybe you want to change functions, maybe you're a teacher and you're like, I don't know what I could do. I'm a teacher. What is next for me as a teacher? Like, how could I possibly do this? The thing I want you to think about is that it is actually very common for people to switch careers. That's why how I started this whole thing. I was like, I was a teacher, then I was in marketing, then I was in business consulting. Now I'm a coach. What I noticed though is you have to give yourself permission to do it. And a lot of times we got to work through whatever hangups we have, whether it's I'm too young, I'm too old, I only have this one really specific experience that doesn't apply to anything else. No matter what you've been doing, there is always something you can transition into. You might just have to get a little creative on how to do it. The advice I usually give people is go to ChatGPT. If you're not using ChatGPT to help advance your career, then you are missing out. Because you could literally go into ChatGPT and type, I am a teacher and I want to change into a different career that makes more money and would get me out of the classroom. What are 5 potential opportunities that I should be researching? And it will tell you what those opportunities are. So it's knowable. And you could do that with absolutely any career. I am a fill in the blank. What could I possibly do differently? It'll give you the list. The real work begins with you have to actually believe that you could be someone who would make that type of change. So you got to research it, learn everything there is to kind of learn about it, and then start talking to people. So I'm going to tell you how to do that today. Here's an example of someone who did this. This is Amanda, another real client. So Amanda had huge success with this. So Amanda was that classic kind of over-educated and underpaid. This is a really good combination to be. When you have a lot of education, but you're not making a lot of money, usually there's an opportunity here. So Amanda worked, she had her undergraduate degree in biology, and then she had a master's in business. And she was working at a pharmaceutical company in New Jersey, and she was making like $65,000 a year as a research coordinator. Very tactical job. She was in her early 30s, and she was like overlooked repeatedly for promotions. And she started to look around and be like, there must be something wrong with what I'm doing. Well, turns out there was nothing wrong with Amanda. Amanda was just in the wrong channel. She had kind of a broy boss that kept overlooking her. And once we took her out of that job where she was totally not valued, and we started connecting her with people who could see what she was worth, she was able to get a $100,000 salary increase in 1 year. And when I asked her, how did you do it? She said, I had to actually understand my value. I had to own it to the fullest. I had to like stop internalizing the negative environment that I was in and believe that there could be a place where I would be valued. And so she was actually able to do it. I do see questions. I'm just going to take a quick question because I see hands raised. Okay, yeah, if Madeline, I'm going to just trust you to interrupt me if any questions come through that I need to look at. So I'm going to move us forward. So that's another example. If you want more on the Amanda story and like that career changing and you want to go deeper into it, I talk a ton about this on my podcast. It's called Clarity in the Fast Lane. And there's this episode, which is how to change industries. But like basically once every 7 weeks, I post another thing about this. So check this out on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Okay, so the next topic, frequently asked questions. And I know I'm going fast, but it's because I want to give you so much value here. I want to tell you everything that's in my brain. I want you to have it. So promotions and salary negotiations, like how do you actually do this? Well, here's the reality. The best way to get a promotion or a salary increase or to increase your income is to leave where you are at today and go somewhere else and ask for more money. It's harder usually to get a promotion in your current role than it is to simply leave and go get a different role altogether. I've seen this over and over and over again. This is especially true if you haven't been given a raise in the last 2 years, 3 years, 6 years, 8 years. If your salary has been staying flat for that amount of time, you are probably primed to make more, but you have to be willing to go somewhere else. Again, if you don't know where to go or what that shift is, go to ChatGPT and ask the machine to tell you, and the machine will tell you what some options are, and then you got to start making those moves. So the other thing here is that how much you're paid, this is a very inconvenient reality. And I don't like this reality, but it is the reality. So I want to be real about it. How much you're paid usually has nothing to do with how good you are, how smart you are, how hardworking you are, the quality of your work. Those variables do factor in, but the reality is people who are making a lot of money, it's because they're perceived as having a lot of value. They might not be. We all have seen this. We all look around and we can see that person. We're like, how did they, like, they are not nice. They're not hardworking. They're rude to other people. How are they climbing the ladder? Well, because they're perceived as a leader. They're being perceived in a certain way. I am not suggesting that you mimic bad behavior. I'm saying focus more on how you're perceived than on the work that you're doing, and that is how you will get top dollar. Also, especially if you're going to try to get a promotion where you are, there's two people's opinion who matters so much: your boss and your boss's boss. Both of those people need to look at you and say, you are our favorite. We are choosing you for the promotion, and we are choosing you for the salary increase, because usually there are limits on how much money they're going to give out and who's going to get that money. So you need the person who you report to really, really like you and to say, you're the one who's going to get it. You will know that's the case because they're going to tell you. If they're not telling you you're next for a promotion, then you are not next for a promotion. Somebody else is. Then you either need to ask, then you have to ask yourself, are you willing to do what it takes to get this person to like you more? Or is it just time to leave altogether? Another important thing here, HR rules and the rules of these corporations and big organizations are often set in a way where it's just difficult for employees to make more money. So my thing that I say here is be really bold with the people that you trust in your network and start asking them how much they are making. I ask everyone all the time, like, how much are they paying you for that role? And here's a pro tip. If you get a job application, a lot of states now require for the salary range to be posted on the application itself. No matter what, you are always going to ask for the top end of the range that they are posting. So this is what it would sound like. When let's say you're talking to a recruiter or you're talking to a hiring manager and they say, so what's your salary expectation for this role? You are simply going to say, based on my experience, background, and expertise, I would expect to be placed at the top end of this range, period. Don't tell them how much you're making currently. Don't tell them anything about what you're currently doing. Just simply state that you have the experience, the skills, the background, and because of that, you expect the top end of the range. And you don't even have to say the number if they've posted it. If it's not posted, if you're in a state where they don't post the range, you might need to ask, can I ask the range of this role? And don't give them where you're at. Never tell them where you're at. You're always going to be asking them and then responding accordingly. Here's an example of someone who did this. This is Sharon. Sharon is in her, I have her permission to share this. It's rude, but I have her permission to share that she's in her 50s and her early 50s. She looks great, by the way. And she was sitting around at a job in the renewable energy world. She was, again, she's an Ivy League graduate. She also had a master's degree. She'd worked in consulting, 20 years of experience, and she was making like $120,000 a year. This might sound like a lot of money for, depending on where you're at, but for her profile and for who she was, that was actually not a lot. She could have been making so much more. She had tons of experience, but she was really undervalued in her job and feeling very stuck. So what she was able to do was actually get an internal promotion and raise her salary by $40,000. When I asked her how she did it, she said, I had to really connect to the relationships that I had been building with people in other parts of the company for a long time. So she had a lot of built up relationship capital that she was able to use. So a lot of people liked her. It just happened that like she was in the wrong channel again. She also was so scared to make a move. She was afraid that she was going to make people mad. I'm going to make my boss mad. But eventually she had to say, no, this is for me. Enough is enough. I'm doing this for me no matter what other people think. And it is scary. And she did do it. Last Q&A. Before I go into literally, I'm going to give you way more even practical how to do all this stuff. But I'm going to give you one more example of what's relevant here. A lot of people nowadays, especially, are asking themselves, could I start my own business or should I start my own business? Can I go independent? And not everyone should, but a lot of people who maybe don't think they should really should do it. So here's what I would say. Starting your own business, especially a service-based business, like you're going to provide a service, not an actual product. Like starting a product-based business, I don't know much about that, so I'm not going to speak to it, but I do know a lot about starting a service-based business. So like, you know, whether you're an accountant, a consultant, a graphic designer, you know, whatever it is, if you have a thing you can do for someone else as a service, that's usually a great way to go independent. People make a mistake because they try to do, you really can only do one of two things. You can either do something you already know and stop doing it full time for someone else and start doing it for yourself. Like that's one way to do it. Start a business. You can like just keep doing what you already do, but just stop doing it for your current employer and start doing it independently. That is the easiest way to do it because you don't have to learn a new skill set. You just have to learn how to sell yourself as an independent professional. The other way is you could try a whole new venture and go independent at the same time. But I don't recommend that to most people because you have to learn two skill sets, the new thing you're going to do and how to be independent. It's usually too much for people to take on. Sometimes it's not too much, but for most people, that would have been too much for me. When I first started my business, I took things I already knew how to do, and I just stopped doing it for the firm I was working for, and I started doing it independently for myself and finding my own clients. So the other thing here, people will be like, oh, but I'm going to need like a ton of social media and marketing, and I need to know all my offerings. You really don't need to do that in the beginning. All you really have to do is convince one person to hire you for that thing that you're already really good at. And if you can get one person to hire you, you have yourself a business. I made my first $100,000 in business with no website, just talking to people in the world. And that's what I'm going to tell you how to do next. We're going to go into that in depth. And here's an example of someone who did it. This is Stacy, another real person, another real client. She had 10 years of service in the nonprofit industry. Her loans were about to be forgiven because after 10 years of experience, or 10 years of service in the nonprofit world, the federal government forgives her loans. And she's like, I really want to go out on my own, but I'm pregnant with twins. And I just don't know if now is a really good time. Stacy, even pregnant with twins, was like, you know what? I've got to do this. I have to do this. So she gave herself the permission. I said, what was the moment that really clicked for you that you were going to do this? She said, I had to give myself permission to actually go after what I wanted. I'd always wanted to work for myself. I thought I might be able to do it, but I had to give myself permission. So I'm now going to walk you through how these 4 people did it in painstaking detail. Okay. So it's not as hard as you think. I want to make it as simple as possible. You just need a career strategy. So what do I mean by a career strategy? A strategy is just a fancy word to say how you're going to get something done. You know where you're trying to go. The how is the strategy for how you're going to get there. This is how I think about career strategy in general. First point, it is about looking inward. Most people want to go out in the world and just take a bunch of action. And you will take action. But half of this journey, if not more, is about discovering yourself more, finding confidence, getting bold, becoming courageous, confronting your fears, getting out of your comfort zone, showing up over and over and over again, even when it feels like it's totally impossible. That is all some serious inner work. When you take that and you couple it with the action in the world, that's when you get the growth and the change. So you look inward, you take action, and then every time you do that, you're constantly looking for what is the lesson I'm learning here? What is the lesson I'm learning here? I'm going to pop this up. So when you look inward, it's things like, what do I really want? Who am I really? How do I handle stress, disappointment, and risk? When you take action in the world, it's literally like, okay, like I'm going to form an LLC. I'm going to craft a winning resume. I'm going to practice negotiating. I'm going to actually apply to 100 jobs. That's the action. Together, that's how you change and grow. And this middle portion here, The way I think of it is that going through this kind of change and transformation, you really do like hit rock bottom lots of times. It's hard, okay? Like there's a reason that people are scared off from chasing their dreams because there are these moments of rock bottom where you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much on the line and can I do this? After rock bottom though, there is always a magic dark. It's kind of like that moment where you say, okay, maybe I can, maybe there's a glimmer of possibility. And from that glimmer, you have ultimately go into reinvention, meaning you will become different from this process. It is like training in the gym. If you lift weights, your muscles will get bigger. Same thing when it comes to your career. So that was very abstract. Don't get stuck there. I'm now going to walk you through what are your immediate first steps. And I say that always works, okay? I put always in with a star because nothing always works. But this, I do believe, is the most likely thing, no matter where you're at, that can get you into action, out of your head, and moving toward what you want. I call it a whisper campaign. So whether you want a new job, whether you have no idea what you want and you just need to explore, whether you want to up level in some major way or make more money, we're going to do it using a whisper campaign. Tactically, this is very simple. It's just you having a series of 50 one-on-one conversations and applying to 100 opportunities in the world. So like maybe it's job opportunities, maybe it's grant opportunities, funding opportunities, schooling opportunities, but you're going to apply to 100 things while also having 50 conversations. And from every conversation and every application, you continuously learn and grow on purpose. And I'm going to break it down step by step, not just what you need to be doing, but what you need to be thinking at every step. Let's go right into step number one. So step number one is do less at your current job. This means reclaiming your calendar and your time and starting to say no, which often means disappointing others. So like structuring your life differently. This alone is enough for people to get stopped in their tracks right away. Because if you're giving a lot to your job uh, and you're not used to saying no or setting boundaries, it is so scary to do that. And there are some people who you actually don't have the luxury of saying no because they'll just simply fire you. So this right here is like a perfect situation where you may need a ton of support from a coach, a therapist, a friend, whoever it is to help you actually start pulling back from one thing to start giving to another thing. That's step number one. Step number two is as you do that, you actually do have to repurpose your time. And there's two places that you're going to repurpose it. The first is fun and enjoyment and well-being. This is counterintuitive, especially if your life is hard and it sucks and like your job sucks and you have family issues and you got a lot going on. Fun doesn't really feel like, it feels kind of like a luxury or a non-essential, but it's actually so important. Like if you can find things that like light you up and that give you a little joy, it's going to make your process so much easier. The other thing you're going to repurpose with your time is to figure out what you want, like how to get it. So you're actually going to be like researching ChatGPT, talking to people. Step number three, make a list of 50 people that are professional contacts of yours. This is another place where people will tell me, but I don't even know 50 people. And I'm like, well, that's where we're going to begin. You have to know 50 people. Your new mission is go out and meet 50 people and put them in a spreadsheet and start tracking the conversations you're having with them. And you're literally going to reach out to them and have conversations. So this is not a text conversation. This is not like it's not in their DMs. It's literally like you need to either get on a video call or meet with them in person. And you're going to catch up with them, learn about them, just be like a really likable person, like ask them questions about where they're at. And then when they ask like, how they can help you or what you're looking to do, you're actually going to tell them, hey, I'm actually looking to get a different type of career. And I've been researching some options. And here are some of my preliminary thoughts. I'm curious, like, what advice do you have for me? Or what would you do if you were me? Or is there someone who you think I should talk to based on what I just told you? What I love about these conversations, people will get stuck and they'll say, what do I say to these people? You just tell them the truth. So if you're early in your journey and you don't know what you want and you're actually kind of deflated, you could say that. You could say, truthfully, I know I need to make a change and I'm kind of stuck around what that change is. So I'm just talking to people to start getting the early brainstorming going and to see like what I learned from others, because I have a feeling that working with other people is going to help me through this. Those people are going to love helping you. This is the other thing. There's a lot of people in the world who do actually want to open doors for you. You got to find them though. Some people don't want to open doors. They're stingy, but a lot of people want to open doors. So you got to find those people who want to open doors. And here's a pro tip. I have found that when I ask people for advice, they ultimately give me business or opportunities. When I ask for business or opportunities, they often give me advice. So be vulnerable, ask questions, share where you're at, and do it from an empowered place. Like, so even if things are hard, it's probably not best to sit down with someone and say, well, nothing's working out and I've tried everything, but it's just not working. It's like that usually, that's kind of like unworkable energy. The person on the receiving end is gonna be like, I don't know what to do with this. But if you say, I've been really discouraged because I've tried many things and I haven't found the thing that's gonna click. So I'm still looking for that thing that's gonna click. Well, now we can work with that. We can help you figure out what's that thing that's gonna click for you. After these, oh, this is step 4. In every conversation, and a lot of people will miss this point. If someone comes to me and they say, well, I talked to Margaret, but you know what? It wasn't really a valuable conversation. The minute someone tells me it wasn't a valuable conversation, my spidey senses go up and I say, something about that doesn't sound right. Because the way I treat conversations is that every conversation is valuable to me, no matter what. Here's an example. Let's say in a worst case scenario, I sit down with somebody and they say, you are totally unqualified and I don't believe in you and I don't think you can do any of the things that you think you can do. Let's say that's the worst case scenario that someone says to me. Well, my commitment is to create gold for myself, no matter what the conversation sounds like. So I'm going to think, wow, I'm interacting with someone who doesn't believe in me. This is my opportunity to believe in myself, even in the face of someone else who doesn't. You're exercising a muscle of self-belief, even when someone else tells you that it's not possible. That is valuable to me. And the good news is most conversations aren't that extreme. You're probably going to run into a lot of people who are like, yeah, let me think about it. Let me try to, oh, if I know anyone, I'll let you know. That's great. You ask them, can I follow up with you in 3 months if I, just to give you a product, an update? And they're going to say, yeah, absolutely. You're just building authentic relationships and you're not expecting any single person to do something for you in that moment. You're thinking of it as the long game, lots of relationships, lots of conversations, and your job is just to show up and say what you want and to maybe suggest how that person might help you and ask for advice, how they think, what they think you should do. Number 5. While you're doing these conversations, you can see how this is an overwhelming process, right? Because you're like, oh, I don't want to do any of this. But it is what it takes, to be honest. And this is also why people get discouraged, because it does take a lot to hold yourself through all of this. So the 5th step here is while you're having those conversations, you also need to be exploring actual opportunities. So this may be job descriptions, right? It might be applying to 100 jobs, but it might also be that there's a training you want to do, or there's webinars you're attending, networking events that you go to, just 100 opportunities that you are pursuing as a potential door. It is so common to apply to 100 jobs, maybe hear back from 3 of them, and maybe get an interview at 1 of them. That happens more and more. I see it all the time. So if you're discouraged in the job search and it feels kind of futile, just know that you're not alone. Even super highly qualified, like very high caliber, like top of their industry people go through this process. So I really want you to know you're not alone in it. And here's how I think of it. For every single opportunity that I apply to, like let's say you read a job description and you're like, I actually have no idea what this is saying. So most people would say, that probably means it's not right for me. But I don't want you to think like most people. I want you to think like someone who's going to win this game. And if you're going to win the game, you're going to think to yourself, I have no idea what this job description is. Let me research it and then figure out how my life actually fits this description. So I think of it as an improv exercise. It's like saying, yes, this is a job that exists. And yes, it's high paid. And I bet I could do it. Why? Let me go think through every experience I've had and how my experience maps directly into this job. So you can see it's not just firing off resumes blindly. You're literally cultivating self-belief through every single application. And just applying or submitting is not enough. We're not done there, folks. It's 5 cold outreaches for each application you submit. So if you're applying at a company, I would go on LinkedIn and see, can I get connected to, can I reach out to, can I figure out who the hiring manager might be or the department this might be in? And can I reach out to that person cold on LinkedIn or on Instagram or wherever? Or do I know somebody who knows them? Can I get their email address and send them a note? But really follow up and try to get a real person to have a conversation with you. And then at that point, you go back to authentically telling them what you want, who you are, why you're capable. And since you've been thinking about it already, it comes out of your mouth naturally. And because you've been tracking your lessons learned from every single conversation, you're positioned well to really interview in a compelling way. Step number 6, while you're going through all of this, you're also going to develop a positive relationship to the process itself. Meaning, instead of being like, this sucks, I hate this, it's miserable. We all know it's not great, okay? And the people who have the most success, they tend to have normalized or just like taken the drama out of it. So rather than getting totally knocked off your feet when an opportunity doesn't go through, you kind of say, you know what, I'm just going to keep going and keep learning and growing. It's a true growth mindset, and it takes so much because sometimes you do just need to throw a fit on the side. Number 7, this is the final step. This is the most inconvenient step of all. It's that once you've gone through this whole thing, 50 conversations, 100 applications or opportunities pursued, you still don't have an opportunity, you repeat the steps again. It's the moment when you want to quit the most is when you take the next step because you just don't know what door is going to open through which connection or which conversation. And if you really are growing and learning from the process, every conversation you're getting better and you're probably landing better and better with each person that you talk to. If you want more of this, like you're like, oh my gosh, like I got to have more of this. I have a free training that you can sign up for on my website. I'll send you the link in the chat after I open this floor up for question Q&A. And you put your email address in and you'll get 5 emails, okay? And each email kind of like walks you through the process. It's a great place to start, especially if you're feeling demotivated or you don't know where to start, or you just need an extra little boost of confidence and practical know-how. Start here. And I'll put the link in the chat right after this. And with that in mind, I left plenty of room at the end for questions and answers because I really do want to make sure we get to things that are on people's minds. So I'm going to stop sharing and open the floor for any questions that you all might have. Okay, and here is the link.
Perfect. I've been keeping an eye on the chat and just a lot of really great comments in there as well. So I've been really appreciating that. And then if
Okay, yeah.
anyone has any questions,
Oh, yeah, go
Shelly
ahead.
Smith asked, what if your boss's boss, oh, this is a tongue twister. What if your boss's boss is intimidated by you?
Okay, great question. Here's what I see happen. Inside of organizations, people get real. It's just like a family, right? Family dynamics. So you know what it's like when you got a family conflict. It's the same thing in an organization. If you get a sense that like the people above you aren't actually on your side, or they're intimidated or threatened by you, or that they are pushing you down, or if you constantly feel belittled or that like there's something is off, the chances are your intuition is correct, something is off, and you may just need to get out of there. Because you could spend a lot of time trying to convince or enroll somebody in something that they are not willing to be convinced or enrolled in. So it's kind of like dating someone that doesn't really want to date you. It's the same thing. It's like, you might need to leave. What is the best outreach approach on LinkedIn? Okay, yeah, there were a couple questions about this too. So on LinkedIn, I'm just very transparent with people. Like, oh, you're so welcome, Shelly. Yeah. I think the best outreach on LinkedIn or anything is just like speak from exactly where you are, without being grabby or demanding or expecting something from the other person. So I typically keep my LinkedIn communications very casual. So I might say, hey, hey, Amanda, just took a look at your profile. I noticed that you're at fill in the blank company in this role. I'm actually applying to jobs at the company right now. If you're open to it, I'd love to do an informational interview to get your take on what it's like to work there. Let me know, exclamation point. Very light, very loose. And think of it this way, especially if you're applying into a company, a lot of people have they can actually get a bonus if they refer you. So if you get on the phone with them and they like you and then they want to refer you internally and you get hired, they can make money from that. So it's not totally one-sided usually. Oh, you don't see the link. Did I put the link in here? Let's see, free training link. Uh,
You did. It just then we had a few people come
there you
up
go.
asking
Okay,
questions.
there we go. Okay. Some more questions. Thank you. Okay, let's see. 5 cold outreaches per application. Do I need to craft a different message for each person since they work at the same company? I just kind of gave a sample of like what that sounds like. So hopefully that was kind of gave you a flavor. You could just modify them a little bit. They don't need to be like you know, you don't need to win the Nobel Prize for writing. You just need to be like very casual, inviting, kind of, hey, very light, very light is the tone. Performance bonuses, let's see. Sound. Yes, this is a good point. It is actually illegal for an employer to it's in some places you got to check that. I'm not actually brushed up on this the way I need to be, but like depending on the state you live in, the question is like, is it illegal for them to ask you about what you're currently making? And I think it actually is in some states. And so just in general, as a reminder, I don't ever tell people what I'm making. I would just say I would keep it broad and ask them and then say I would expect to be at the top end of that range. Let's see. 9 new messages. Okay, so do you recommend starting with CEO for outreach for an account manager position? You basically, it depends on the size of the organization. So I always ask myself, like, the ideal person you really want to find is who's actually hiring for that role. So this is how I do it. Here's how I actually go through. Let's say I apply for an account manager role, like is what you're asking about, at like a medium-sized company with 500 employees. It's kind of a small company, actually. But like, let's say 500 employees, account management. I would not reach out to the CEO there. I would want to get to who is the person I'm going to be reporting into. So I would actually go on LinkedIn and I would start looking for who are people in account management at this company and who's someone that has a title that is one level up from mine. So if you're applying for account manager, maybe you're looking for a senior account manager at that same company, or maybe there's like director of account management. Those are the people you're going to try to connect with because they have the most direct influence over whether they're going to hire you or not. That's how I would do it. Oh, creative fields. What advice do you have for professionals in creative fields such as design? That's a great question because a lot of my clients are either architects, furniture designers, interior designers, or creative entrepreneurs online. And the number one thing I see in that industry with designers in particular is that because design can be it's very much about knowing what's cool and what's in and like what looks good. There's a lot of image conscious people in that industry. So my number one advice is don't get caught up in that kind of, I call it a racket. It's kind of this racket of like, well, I can't talk to so-and-so because, they're so much above me, or my portfolio needs to be perfect if I'm working with these people. Do not let perfection become the enemy of good. And also don't let other people's perfectionism intimidate you. People are people, no matter who they are. Talk to them like people, and you're going to get opportunities that way. Now, your design needs to be like good, but it doesn't need to be like, you're not, you don't need to hold yourself to the highest design standard in the world. You just need to build relationships. That's the best way. The copy of the PowerPoint presentation and bullet points. I don't know if Madeline is going to send that out. I'm fine with that, but Madeline, that's up to you, I think. Okay. If you're working your 100 opportunities and you get an offer early in the process, do you jump on it, or best to work your way through more contacts, interviews, etc.? I love that question. If you get something you like and it's early in the process, take it. Don't put yourself through this misery. If you want it and you're like, this seems well paid, it's what I want. The minute you're kind of like, yes, I'm a yes to this opportunity, you don't need to keep going. My intention in being like, go for 100 is so that you don't feel discouraged when you're 80 jobs in and you still haven't heard anything. I just want you to know that's normal. How do we change how we're perceived at work? Oh my gosh. This is, again, you got to ask yourself whether it's even possible is the first question. And you got to ask yourself, am I the problem or are they the problem? So, and think of it like a family dynamic. Like, how do you get your mom and dad to see you differently? It's hard because like they still see you as their little child, potentially. Like your siblings are always going to remember who you were at 16 years old, and they can't unsee that part of you. And sometimes that happens. So changing perception, you got to ask, can I, and do I want to put it in? Here are some ways you can know if you are the problem or if they are the problem. You'll know that they are the problem if you are someone who shows up every day, does a good job, works very hard, treats other people with respect and kindness, but then some people are rude to you in return. That's a sign that you're not the problem. If you are a single mother and you take care of your children and you take care of all the people in your life and you're taking care of your life and all of this responsibility, and then you're getting feedback at work that like you're not responsible or that you can't be counted on, you're not the problem. It's them. Like if the feedback you're getting or what you're up against seems contrary to who you know yourself to be in your life, it's probably a sign that you're in a dysfunctional environment and you might just need to get out of there. Okay. Situation in question. I'm very experienced, have worked to carve very good qualifications, and am willing to be flexible in job opportunities and offers. I require work visa sponsorship okay. I often don't get to the last step. What are your tips for those who require work visa sponsorship? I have not cracked the code on the work visa sponsorship thing. So this is truly a limitation in what I can offer you. I do not know. I don't know how to get around the work visa thing. It is so hard I know a lot of people jump through a million hoops to get the work visas. And sadly, I do not have an answer that is satisfactory. However, I'm going to ask ChatGPT and I'm going to ask my network and I'm going to do some research so that I do have a better answer to that question, because that is the second time I've been asked that in the last month. Hi, from Wisconsin. The location I work at is being closed by the company. I'm thinking of applying for another internal position. They have listed a salary range and my current salary falls in that range. How do you suggest salary negotiations in case like this, where the hiring person knows what my current salary is? Love this question. So they know what you're making and you know what the range is. Here's what they're going to do. The classic line is they're going to tell you, well, we actually want to keep you in the middle of the range. That way there's opportunity for growth. Silly. Makes sense, but it's not what you want to hear. You're like, no, I would like more money now. More money now is better than more money later. So we want more money now. So I think you're going to say something like this. First of all, you're going to, everything is, I am so excited for this role. It is perfect for where I want to go. It's perfectly aligned with the contribution I want to make and the skill set that I already possess. And so I can see myself adding a lot of value here. So with that in mind, I also imagine that I would be getting top compensation or at the top end of that range. I'm curious what you think, and you throw it back to them. But you've already told them what to think. So a lot of times we're just handing people the script that we want them to then go tell other people, because now they're equipped. Like, hey, actually, Chris has a lot of relevant experiences, perfect for this role. So we might want to give him the top end of this range. So give them the script and see what happens. Love the link to the training, but I don't see it. Here is the link to sign up for the training. Here you go. Email it to us. I just sent the link through. Yeah, and they may hire. That's a good point. Sometimes they're just going to go with cheaper labor. They'll just be like, nope, we want to hire the cheaper person. So that's your cue. Like, you might again have to drum up the willingness to go somewhere else. Let's see. Huh, still don't see the link. Oh, the link is not. Maybe Madeline, are you able to send that link out? Let's see.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, yep, I can.
You got it? Okay. And okay. Oh, thank you for telling me. Yes, there is a link. Sign up for the link. What final questions can we answer? Yes, age. I love this question. Please comment on age, how to position when obviously they prefer a younger person. So first and foremost, most people, first let me talk about being older. Let's say even in your 60s, okay? If you are older, and that means you have a ton of experience, which means you need to have an empowered relationship to the experience that you have. So rather than saying, I'm getting so old and no one wants us, it's, I have amassed a body of work that is 40 years of me showing up, producing great work. I am trusted, I am reliable, and now I'm coming to you and I'm bringing that to the table. So you position, you take what is your weakness, your age, you turn it into a strength. I am a leader because I've lived a lot of life. I am someone that works well with others because I've learned how to be myself with lots of different people from all walks of life. Take it and position it as a strength. And if they don't want that, let's say they really do just want someone right out of college, then you're probably applying for jobs that might actually be lower than you. I think that my experience is that most people are applying for roles that are lower than what they need to do, and that you could probably shoot higher and get better results. I think of it like this, you know, when you're walking down the street with someone who's walking slower than you, it actually takes more energy to walk slower at their speed than it does to just walk at your natural pace. Walk at your natural pace, which is probably, it might be that you need to go after a bigger opportunity, a bigger role than the one that you're currently going after. Young people, same thing. They're like, oh, I don't have any experience. That's perfect, because you know what your story is going to be. I'm coming in here because I'm the person who's willing to do and be whatever it takes to get the job done and to learn the skills that are required to really thrive in this role. I love ambiguity. I love challenges, and I'm willing to burn the midnight oil to get it done. This is not popular right now. I know that like there's kind of like an no one should be burning out, like, you know, working around the clock. But I also do think that especially early in a career, there's something about logging the hours and really putting yourself in the arena and working very hard early. It's like everything in life. There are seasons. So early career, in my opinion, is the season of kind of push now, and then cash in on that pushing later. It's just like having a baby. At a certain point, you got to push the baby out. Early career, push. and market yourself as the person who's willing to do that. Because hiring managers are sitting around all day long listening to people talk about the work-life balance they want and the expectations they have, but they're not hearing a lot of people say, like, I'm the guy who's going to take this on and get it done no matter what. And if you position yourself that way, you will get hired. Okay, any advice? We have 5 minutes left here. Thank you so much. Chris, you're amazing. Thank you. You are probably amazing too, Christina. Any advice on any advice on when you'd been in a consulting for your own business and when you want to get back into it? Okay, so basically the question is, I've been working independently, kind of consulting, doing my own thing, but now I want to go corporate again. Again, this is a great strength. You're going to say, what I have learned on my own is that I really want to be on a team again. That's why I'm talking to you, because I think your team is the place for me. And I've learned so many skills on my own around account management, being the one who has to own the entire life cycle of projects, of running the business at the same time. My prioritization skills have gotten sharper. My business discernment skills, my judgment has gotten sharper from having worked on my own. And I'm just craving that team environment. So I'm eager to come apply what I've learned on my own and just do it in a community of people who are also working hard. Perfect answer. They're going to love it. Any advice on when you've been in a oh, we already got that one. Call out something that most people do wrong and the energy flip that's needed to make it the right thing. I hear this all the time and it drives me crazy is, I've looked everywhere. I've applied to every job that I'm possibly qualified for. I look every day. There is no way that you have pursued every opportunity that is available to you on this planet right now. There's no way. So when I hear people say like, but I looked at every job board and there's nothing that fits, I'm so skeptical. You got to say like, what's the opportunity that I'm going to make right for myself today? Like, there's no perfect opportunity. There's the opportunity that you're going to make right. I don't have a degree. I spent much of my 20s and 30s with unmedicated ADHD. Any particular roles to look for that aren't so stuck on degrees? I love this. Currently aiming for IT, but open to other suggestions. G. Hank, I think that's who we're talking to here. I don't know if that's Gank or G. Hank. Thank you for this question. First, Chat GPT is your friend. Ask them, and then keep asking follow-up questions and get really specific. Like, and if I wanted to make $120,000, what would I need to do? And things that come to mind, though, it depends on your personality and your skill set. Account management, sales roles inside of corporations are excellent for this. If it could be, and this is where you got to kind of ask yourself, what are you good at? Office manager or like even event manager roles are incredible. Like you get some really well paid, like kind of like being the person who oversees an entire office and like takes care of that kind of stuff, like really good. And then from there, you can move into like events, you can move into event production. Oh, I love that. Trace Wilkins says AWS, that's Amazon Web Services, and Microsoft offer free certification trainings. Yeah, so like if you are more of an IT person, you could position yourself as you could go really technical, or you could also go into project management. Project management, if you have no idea where to start, just pretend that you should be a project manager, okay? Because project managers exist in every industry. They're in IT, they're in creative, they're in architecture, construction, banks, hospitals. Everybody needs project managers. And so if you can position yourself as like, I'm just really good at seeing projects from end to end, that's a great place to start.
And I feel like that is a great question to end on, as we're just coming up on time. I just really want to appreciate you coming on and sharing. I know I had just some fun little takeaways for in my notebook as well, taking some fun notes. And I appreciate everyone showing up in the chat and asking their questions. Thank you so much. And feel free, I will be posting this in a couple of days. That will be my goal. And then feel free to check out our website for upcoming events, and our YouTube has a large offerings of past events as well. So you can continue getting the resources you need to take that next step forward. But thank you all and have a wonderful day. Bye.